everyone, and welcome to another episode of Get Tech Smart. I am your host, Flo Nicholas, where we talk about everything techie going on in New Hampshire. One of the things that I'm really excited about is I'm seeing that there are a lot of programs and there are a lot of resources available right here in New Hampshire that you might not know about. We've had the Wicked STEM New England event this weekend that went very well. And there's another event that's actually coming up in November. We're telling you now so you know about it, so you register. Guess what? So you show up. So without further ado, my guest today to talk about Granite State Coders event that's coming up on November 12th. At Manchester Community College. So my first guest that I'm going to introduce has actually been here before, so this is your second appearance. So welcome back, Phil Kaziski, software engineer at Raytheon, and I'm going to add senior at that. And today, somebody new, we have Jim Wilcox. And you're a New Hampshire resident. You also work for a company called Insight, and we were just chatting about your background. So Phil, we're not going to ignore you, but I'm going to focus on Jim real quick so we can put a spotlight on who he is. You call yourself an architect. Let's get a little bit more into that detail before we talk about the event.
Sure. So I'm, as you said, Jim Wilcox. I'm an application architect with Insight Enterprises. We are a consulting services business where basically other companies hire us to help them take on technical challenges and stuff like that. We have clients literally all over the world. I've been a software developer professionally for pushing 30 years now. And so I've seen lots of stuff between all of the different clients that I work with and all of the problems that they run into. So I am what a lot of people call a full stack developer, but I'm also an architect. And right now, for example, I'm overseeing several different projects, the technical aspects, making sure that everything connects properly, that the applications are built in a maintainable way, and that they reshare components that they can and don't try to repeat things and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So you're a techie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're a techie.
I love what I do.
Yeah, so you're a techie just like Phil, just like I am. And one thing that we are all passionate about is, just making sure we put a spotlight on New Hampshire and the tech scene, as well as providing resources to anyone who's in tech, anyone who wants to pivot in tech, and the introduction of STEM at a early childhood curriculum. So let's talk about the Granite State Coders event that's coming up. What is it?
All right.
Well, so the Granite State Code Camp is in many ways, I guess the best way to put it is that it's a one-day software conference. It reminds me a little bit of a conference that was held by the Mass Technology Leadership Council called REDEV, although this has been around a little bit longer. And REDEV's no longer around there, where it's just one day full of sessions that are software related. And some of the topics are a little bit, are not hard software in the sense that it's not about a particular skill or teaching you a new technique. I remember the first year I attended, there was something on imposter syndrome, which many of us as high achievers deal with regardless of our field. Yeah. There was also something on being a software consultant, which being a consultant is very different than being an employee. So that was a very educational session. And so there's a lot to be gained from a number of vantage points. And then even being at something like this, you have a chance to make a lot of great connections as well, which that's one of the things that a conference offers you. In many ways, a conference checks off a lot of boxes for how you can grow, because you can go learn something, you can learn about new products or services that can help you, and make a lot of connections along the way. And this is our one-day event that is right along that line.
Okay. Well, so Jim, tell me a little bit more about the breakdown of the event. Like, what is the makeup? Because Phil and I were at Wicked STEM New England, and they had a separate section for those who wanted to listen to speakers. And then there was another section where it was exhibitors and hands-on training, STEM activities that were going on. So what can people expect from this event?
Sure. So Granite State Code Camp is actually, based on a thing called the Code Camp Manifesto. It's something that's been around for a number of years. It was inspired by an event, I believe, out of New York City, and that spread to many other cities up and down the East Coast, Boston and now of course the Granite State. So when attendees come, it's a free event. It's available at no cost to anybody who wants to come. What we've got is we're at Manchester Community College. You'll be able to come in, register at the front desk, let folks know that you're there as long as you've got your ticket. We've got a schedule posted that has several different events going on at more or less, not quite hour intervals. It's more like, maybe an hour and change. But at every one of those event or meeting periods, breakout periods, folks can choose from 5 or 6 different presentations that are being given by volunteer presenters who bring a lot of experience to the community. Some of them will be presented right there in Manchester Community College. Some of them will be online,
Okay.
and we do support remote attendees as well.
Awesome.
But you got to be present to have lunch.
Right. Yes,
yeah. So
good. No deliveries be made to your house.
yeah. So we do serve lunch. We will have a section for sponsors that people can go and actually talk to the organizations that are supporting the Granite State community in this event. Many of them are actually a part of this community or have employees that are a part of it. Though there are some out of state that just see the value in being a part of it as well. So they're also offering things like raffle items. So we'll have a raffle giveaway at the end of it. And also
Swag tables? Are there any
yeah,
swag
oh yeah,
tables? Okay,
absolutely. The
I'm all
vendors,
about the swag tables.
the vendors love to bring swag, and we love to hand out stuff.
And I love to collect it, so.
Yeah, me too. Actually, what was the one other thing? Capture the flag. We've
Okay.
got a Capture the Flag hacker event that's going on.
Oh, nice.
Bunch of different challenges that people can tackle, and they get points for each one that they solve.
That's fantastic. I'm definitely going to show up to show my support, and of course, where tech is happening, I like to be there. But I've always been interested in what goes into hackathons. I keep hearing hackathons everywhere, and I think I'll be intrigued just to watch what they do. So I think that sounds like fun, and they said my favorite word, free, So it's a great resource for people to come. So let's get into the nitty-gritty a little bit here, because you said there are different sessions that are going to happen. Mm-hmm. Can you give an example of, I know you mentioned before in the past what they've had, like imposter syndrome. What can we expect for this event?
Well, there's a wide range of different topics. I remember last year there was actually a very good discussion that was entitled "How Much Does the Code Matter?" which talked about not just the code itself, but even about the variance of the developer capabilities, about how well a team works together, even about things that were process related. There were several sessions that were more web services related. I remember Jim gave something on the latest on .NET last year.
Oh, nice.
And actually I remember also a very good presentation on microservices, which is something that I've had a hard time kind of wrapping my arms around for a long time, but that actually helped me start to get a handle on it a little bit, and then I got more of a handle with some of my reading on, ironically enough, a little different subject, but one where microservices come in, which is DevOps, and that's a whole big subject all on its own.
Right.
But that's another thing another subject where you may have some presentations on as well. It's pretty wide open in that respect.
Yeah. What about someone who's new and like someone who was like, hey, I think I want to get into coding. You guys are using all these big words that I've never heard before. Will I feel like left out, or is this a great opportunity for beginners to learn?
So this is what I tell people all the time. It's like, Granite State Code Camp is by coders for coders. That's really the only qualification there is to it. We encourage people of all ages at all skill levels to get involved, and in fact, actually even we've tried to some extent to get a track for high schoolers to actually present as well. So it's like even the presenters, we can have people who have 30 years of experience in the field,
Right.
or they're just getting involved. We call them future pros.
Right.
So
I think I'm in that category.
the presentations really range, from coding 101
Yeah.
to, whatever depth that people are willing to present. The volunteer presenters are bringing, all kinds of experience, and that's one of the other things that we generally have, is that most sessions are all about inspiring people to
Right.
learn new techniques and capabilities and that sort of thing across all different tech tribes. So
Yeah.
I know that I tend to focus on Microsoft stuff, but we've got a lot of people in the Java world, a lot of people in the Python, and all of that stuff. So it's really a full range. Like I say, the only real qualification is that you're into code and want to learn.
Right. And who do you think will benefit from this event? Because like I said, this weekend we were talking about early childhood STEM, starting like as early as possible. I know there's some schools like World Academy that are starting to teach how to code in kindergarten. So, who's going to benefit? Who should come to this event?
I think anybody who wants to make some connections and who wants to gain something new and gain a little bit of new knowledge. And because the sessions span a wide range, there's something for everybody. And sometimes even there are times, and this happens in any conference, where there might be 2 or 3 sessions in the same time slot, and so you've got to make a choice as to which one you think has the most value. And there might be some where there's not one that has immediate value. And I've been pleasantly surprised at some of the conferences I've been to where I've said, well, this doesn't look as good a time slot with the offerings as others, and then I go to one that ends up being terrific.
Right.
But as Jim kind of noted with trying to get a tracking for high school presenters, we certainly want even some who are interested in this in high school to come. And some of the sessions are even very from beginner on up. They're very general in terms of what they touch on. I remember one last year that touched on a lot of different C and C++ programming as well, even from things that were at the beginner level. So this can be helpful for a lot of people, and some are a lot more specific in that they touch on one small little area within software. So there's a lot of different things to offer, and if you want to go and learn something, either advance on something you already have some good knowledge on, or learn something new, and hopefully whet your appetite, because you're never going to learn something in full in just 1 hour.
Right.
Then this is certainly a great way to go.
Yeah, it's a teaser, right? It's a teaser of
Whets your appetite.
Exactly. Why now? Why do you think it's so important right now for New Hampshire to start having more of these events? We did speak about, you went somewhere in Massachusetts to an event. Why is it so important that New Hampshire needs to just level up right now and start having more of these coding events, Wicked STEM events, and other tech events that are available right here in our state?
So the great part about New Hampshire is that it's so much of everything with, so much around us. Our whole atmosphere here is amazing. This is the place where I, really got to develop into development, and made it possible for me. And I see that opportunity and want to share it with everyone. And that's a major part of what Granite State Code Camp is about, is sort of paying forward the opportunities that we've gotten, and that's something I tell people. Also, sort of goes back a little bit to the previous question. Granite State Code Camp is a little bit of a sort of a stone soup event. It takes a lot of stuff that goes into it. We've got a ton of great volunteer speakers. We've got the organizers, but we've also got the sponsors. And of course, even the attendees, everybody who comes participates and contributes something to it. And this is something that we kind of want to celebrate with Granite State Code Camp. Make sure that people understand that this tech community is bigger than just our own little pockets of pandemic space, and that basically, this is the the place to be. That you get the benefits of some of the bigger things that are around, and but you still get the mountains and the ocean and the lakes and all of the other features of the Granite State, and everybody who contributes gets something amazing out of it together. It's something that we all get to say, hey, this is ours.
Right, exactly, and I agree with you 100%. I think part of us continuing to have these events locally, that's going to be a great way, and we've talked about this before, of how you attract and you retain talent here in New Hampshire, and that we don't start losing people saying, oh, but the resources are, in Massachusetts or Vermont or Maine. We get people to stay here and say, oh, no, yeah, we have the mountains. You can go to Hampton, but guess what? We also have this booming tech sector. Oh, and by the way, we have all of these resources that are available for free to our students and anyone who's looking to level up on their coding skills. So you guys mention sponsors quite frequently. So I'm interested to know, well, who's showing up? Who are your sponsors?
I think Jim can probably speak to that a little more so because he's dealt with them, but they will be some familiar names, certainly.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. We've got Adam Group from Portsmouth. They're our top sponsor. We've got my company, Insight. I'm very, very proud to have my tribe be a part of this.
Yeah.
At that level. But we've also got Pulsar Security, who is an amazing company out of Derry. And let's see, we've got Akumina out of Nashua. Very, very proud to have them a part of this too. And let's see, who else? I
believe
Alexander Technology Group has been an amazing partner in this. They're really contributing a lot to this. Of course, Manchester Community College offers us the space to do this, and that in and of itself is
It's fantastic.
a major sponsorship.
And MCC is really a great partner in the entire tech industry around here.
Yes,
I think
they
we're all
are.
seeing.
Yes.
Yep.
I agree with that.
And let's see, it seems like, there are others on the edge of being a part of it. We
On the edge, meaning they're still like, should I or should I not?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what's your message to them? You can call them out right now. You don't have to say their names, but but we would like for you to participate is pretty much what you're saying, because this is a free event. So,
Yeah.
and I think just based upon what we've discussed is that the benefits are phenomenal and incredible for our state.
Yep, absolutely. And the thing that I would say to companies that are thinking about it is, it's not lost on the community who's not there.
No pressure, though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
No pressure, seriously.
It's like we have a lot of great technology in the state, a lot of great participation from some amazing companies.
Yeah.
I love them all. I'm very proud of this state and all of the amazing companies that are here. And to not have them involved in this, it hurts just a little bit. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, I want to show you off. I want you to be on the stage for this. So
Yeah, I can relate because, part of having Get Tech Smart is to call on companies so I can showcase them. And sometimes some people are not ready to be behind, or I should say in front of the camera. But I think the bigger piece to this is the importance on the tech sector here in New Hampshire, right? Mm-hmm. No one company can, just help us become global, or globally known as a tech sector. It's really going to take all of us as a tech community working together, right, and collaborating on projects like this. This is how we become the next Silicon Valley, the next Seattle, the next hotbed like Atlanta or Texas. That's how we do it. We've got to work together, and we've got to start collaborating some more.
And I think, too, to help understand that we're not just one big suburb of Boston. I mean,
Right.
Yes, Boston casts a large shadow, especially with the technology industry, and I see it all the times I'm there, even when I'm on Route 128 with all the companies there,
Yeah.
and even with everything in the Seaport. I was just in the Seaport about a week ago for something else, and there's tech company after tech company that's been moving there in recent years, although things are changing a little bit post-COVID with the remote and hybrid workforce. But New Hampshire has been home. Certainly we have big companies that have a presence here, but we're also we were the home of Dyn, which of course then got bought by Oracle. We're home
Yeah.
to Minim, which is now a public company. We're the home of DECA, which is in downtown Manchester, a great company. There's Sunrise Labs, which is actually expanding to southern Massachusetts. They're
Oh,
a
wow.
great medical device consultancy. And we're also home up in Concord to a hidden gem of a company called Bitware, which is now part of Molex. And there's a number of stories like that here.
Right.
There's no one company that's just known the world over per se, but even though we have some big companies that have offices here, but this is all part of the story. This is all part of how we have something here. We have more than just one or two companies. This is a place where it's not just Boston Light. It's not just a big suburb of Boston. We have things here.
Yeah, there's actually a lot more tech companies here than I was aware of. Like we're talking about like over 5,000. And I actually thought, maybe we had about 70 or 80. so I was way off. But that's the point we're trying to make, is that we've got to step out away from the shadows and come into the light, because people don't believe that we have this growing tech scene. When I talk about technology a lot on social media, and I showcase people right here on this show, people are like, oh my goodness, I had no idea you guys had things like this going on in New Hampshire. So that's what we're trying to do. And that's why this event is important. Now, you mentioned Alexander Technology Group is going to be there. Will they be there to also help in terms of, because they're a staffing company, a recruiting company. Mm-hmm. So if someone wants to, get into coding, looking for work, are they there for any type of support for that?
Yeah, and they usually have a couple of people there who, among other things, can offer to look at their resume, even then say, let's have a conversation at a later time to talk in a little more detail. It's a little difficult to do the equivalent of a phone call and meeting at an event like this, but that can help get the wheels turning a little bit. And they can tell you a little bit about sometimes they know right at the top of their head, well, maybe there's a position that I know of that could be of interest, even with just a cursory look at the resume, or even if you just say, well, this is what I do. I'm an embedded software developer, and then they might have an idea right off the top of their head. But this is more just to help get the ball rolling a little bit. But certainly there will be people there who can do some of that.
Yeah, they'll definitely be present and accounted for. We always hope. I know that Jason can't always do a session, but he often does for Granite State Code Camp. We've been doing this now for 5 years, and he's been a part of it since the beginning. He's been a part of my community involvement for more than a decade. Even before Granite State Code Camp, when we were doing SharePoint Saturday events up here and stuff like that, and the SharePoint users group and all that were up here in New Hampshire. We definitely appreciate their support. He's been a part of it for, like I say, more than a decade, and probably beyond that. He like I say, often does a presentation, and that's very much something we look forward to. So,
no, it sounds like a fantastic event. Now, what time does it start?
I believe it starts, I want to say it's either 8 or 9 in the morning. It starts bright and early,
right.
And goes till about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, if memory serves me, with a break for lunch at around noontime.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Well, I feel like we need breakfast. You're talking about lunch. I feel like if I show up at 8, I'm gonna need breakfast.
Yes, there is. We do plan to have coffee and some sort of like continental muffins and stuff like that. So
I know. I'm thinking, what's for lunch? So no, this is definitely a great event. Which definitely encourage people to show up to. Is there any last information that we should know about the event that we possibly missed?
Something that's a little bit connected is a nightly, it's literally every weeknight, called Granite State Code Review Nightly.
Okay.
It's an hour, just sort of open office, pop in, we'll talk shop, anything you want to about it. Look for it on meetup.com. But the reason I bring that up in this forum is that a lot of the people who are also helping to organize Granite State Code Camp are part of that group. So we meet, literally every weeknight, 9 p.m. U.S. Eastern. If you want to get involved and participate, you're absolutely invited. We're very open about the whole process of organizing it, and try to include as many people as we possibly can, and so that's another opportunity to get involved. we also help people get involved in other meetups and, whatever technology. It's just sort of an open-ended,
Yeah.
let's talk about software development stuff.
No, that's great. That's definitely a great resource to have. And I'm sure a lot of people probably don't even know that it's available. And there's a lot of people who love to talk about software, so that's a great meetup group.
And I would add that this is also, being a hybrid event, this is what the way of the world for conferences nowadays. Now that you have that option, I mean, virtual conferences are certainly here too, and as great as it is to be in person, it's nice to have that option if you can't travel to that. Interestingly enough, ARM Dev Summit, which is the big summit that ARM does every year, it's a multi-day conference. They were going to bring that back entirely in person this year. They just announced yesterday that that's gone all virtual. So it's nice that now I don't have to go travel to the West Coast to go see that. Actually, I wasn't going to be part of that until they had just announced that. So, and we're running this as a hybrid event, and that's so now you don't necessarily have to be there. Our presenters aren't necessarily going to be there, and that all makes for a richer experience. It allows more people there, even though it does bring its challenges. Nonetheless, it allows more people to be part of it.
And one other thing that I'd like to bring up as far as that goes too, sort of a nod to the ingenuity and capability of the Granite State and its community. When the pandemic hit, most of the other code camps that Granite State Code Camp was sort of modeled after canceled. Granite State Code Camp went entirely online in 2020, and it was the only code camp to continue the tradition through the pandemic. The next year, 2021, we were hybrid, and this year, a little bit sadly, I'm sort of worried for the other code camps in a sense. Boston is not resuming, New York is not resuming, Vermont has not resumed. So this code camp is it for the Northeast region. And we'd really like to, make such a huge impact that it, reminds these people that this is great stuff. We need to do more of this, not just here in New Hampshire, but regionally. And we kind of want to lead the way back to, getting to code camps and returning to the normal sort of thing there. So.
But yes, it's unfortunate that the surrounding states, their code camps have seemed to kind of taken a pause. But guess what? Our event is going on. So if you're in Massachusetts, you're in Vermont, you're in Maine, wherever you are around the world, because it's hybrid, you can be able to participate. And now we can be the hub. We can be the people across the border to come into our state to be able to use the resources that we have right here. And that's great right for us, right?
Absolutely. This is something, that we can't wait to do. We can't wait to, gather up everybody, and it's almost like a family reunion. Yeah. Get everybody back together again. Let's get the band going, and let's celebrate coding in the Granite State and show everybody how it's done. So.
Yeah, no, this is great. So it's November 13.
12th.
I said, remember, I did this before. I keep wanting to say the word 13, but it's November 12th, and we'll put up the time once we clarify if it's 8 to 5, and it is going to be able to, you can go in person or in hybrid. So if you're somewhere, in Paris and you want to tune into what's going on in New Hampshire, you'll be able to do it hybrid as well. So, which is excellent. But actually, before this fantastic event, Phil and I have an event that's going on as well, and it's DEI New Hampshire Tech Networking event, and we do have a sponsor, which is Franklin Pierce University. We also have a sponsor, which is the same as yours, Manchester Community College, and we also have New Hampshire Tech Alliance, who's also a sponsor, and we also have Black in Technology New England, who's a sponsor. And why this event is important to both of us is because we are promoting and we are celebrating diversity in tech. And what that means is we need more women and we need more underrepresented tech talent right here in New Hampshire. So we hope to have people who are going to the Granite State Coders event come join us on November 3rd from 4:30 to 7 to network with New Hampshire tech companies, recruiters as well. So if you're looking to pivot into tech or you're looking to work in tech, whether you want to do coding, whether you want to do cybersecurity, it's everyone is welcome. Even if you're not a techie, but you just love celebrating diversity in the workforce, especially in technology, we welcome you to come. So we'll put information on that. So Phil, you and I have been working on this, and we're super excited for this event.
Absolutely, we are, and we want anybody who wants to be a part of the technology industry to be in there. And fundamentally, you just think of anybody who wants to get into the technology industry wants to deal with the technology.
Right.
They don't want to have to deal with not being heard, with not being given the chance to grow, with not even being given the opportunity to get in the door in the first place. And it's a big issue. There's a lot of things to do with it. This is certainly one part of doing it. This is one attempt to help to remedy that.
Right. It's the start. Right. It's the
You
start
somewhere.
off, as we talked earlier, it's about all of us coming together as a community, a technology community, and supporting each other with events like Granite State Coding event that's coming up, and with the DEI New Hampshire Tech Networking event. That's how we make the noise, right? That's how we are heard. That's how we are seen, not just locally, but globally. And, you know, if we make enough noise, our neighbors, right, Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont, can be able to hear us. And, yeah, we want to get the people coming across the border, not just to visit, to go to the beach and then go home, but we want them to come in, get jobs in these tech companies. And guess what? We become successful. We get more people attending a Granite State Coding event, and we have more of a diverse tech workforce. And that's important to all of us. So
Absolutely.
we'll put that up as well. So, well, Phil, I know you and I will be chatting because I chat with him every day because we're planning the event going on. Jim, it's definitely great having you here. Maybe we'll have you as a solo guest to talk more about what you're doing in tech and all that fun stuff. Phil had a great time doing that, so we can think of a subject matter to focus on for you. Any last words?
Well, we're looking forward to this and quite a few other great events. And really, this past year, as a lot of events have come back that have been canceled due to COVID, we're seeing the vibrancy of the technology industry, from the Tech Connect events that the New Hampshire Tech Alliance ran back in the spring and into the summer, to some of the events they've just had over the last couple of weeks, to our event, to the Granite State Code Camp. Innovation Summit comes up right in between these two events on November 10th. So there's a lot happening, and it's great to see a lot of this happening where we're kind of hitting our stride a little bit again.
Yeah, there is a lot happening, and I'm exhausted. So it's exhausted in a good way, because we're starting to see, like you said, we got to make that noise, and I'm really starting to feel like we are. I think one of the other elements in here is to give that amplification to that noise, which is why I'm happy we have the show. Then I can get people like you and Phil on the show to come talk about it, so we can be seen around the world, hopefully in space too. So hopefully somebody's watching us up there. But I really appreciate you guys coming. I'm excited for the Granite State Coders event. I'm going to be there, so I'm going to sign up for it so I can talk about it on my social media. And so I guess the way we do it is you guys come to the DEI New Hampshire Tech Networking event on November 3rd. And then we all show up on November 12th for the Granite State Coding event. And then there's the November 10 summit that you were just talking about, the Innovative Summit that's coming up with New Hampshire Tech Alliance.
So that's one of the Tech Alliance's big events every year, and the information at nhtechalliance.org.
Okay, so I'll make sure I put that up. And so, yeah, and the DEI New Hampshire Tech event is free. So again, working together as a tech community to provide free resources for our community right here. So thank you for joining us for another episode of Get Tech Smart. Stay tuned for more.